So to ensure safety and prevent accidents on a industry shop floor, we need to follow strictly the safety guidelines. So this include wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment, maintaining a clean and organized work area, using equipment and tools properly, and being aware of surroundings. These are the basic guidelines which is given to ensure the safety in a working environment in an industrial shop floor. Additionally, reporting of unsafe conditions, and frequently we need to attend a safety training, and following and establish the procedure are the vital for a safe working environment. So the personal protective equipment means we need to always wear helmets inside the industry based upon the application of the industry that the component or product produced. We need to use always wear helmets, and we need to produce always safety glasses, as in the case of welding, as in the case of any other production material which is going to be hazardous for the vision. And we need to always wear the gloves and appropriate footwear. That means we used to wear always closed toe shoes as required by the work being performed. These are the mandate personal protective equipment. First one is helmet, safety glass, gloves, and then the footwear. And regarding the cloth, we need to avoid to wear loose clothing. We need to use the ties or any other jewelry part, including the watches. So that may be caught in a machinery. So the third one is the hair. We don't want to keep our hair in a lengthy manner. Maybe it should be stuck with the moving parts. So we need to keep hair tied back to prevent the entanglement with the moving parts. We need to that's the main reason that we are protecting, as well as the head injury, as well as the entanglement of hair with the moving parts. We are using the helmets. So the second one is the workplace safety. The workplace safety, the first and foremost thing is cleanliness. So we have to keep the floor always clean, nothing to be there while in the walking side and while in the storage area. And always it should be dry, not to be the wet. And free of debris, the foreign particles should not be there. The scrap should be in a proper place. The raw material should be placed in a proper place. The semi-finished raw material, semi-finished product should be in a proper place. So including the spills and any scattered materials. We need to always clear the walkways and the emergency exit, and ensuring the unobstructed access in the emergency exit. That we need to make a regular practice to clear the pathways. And then a tool safety. We need to use the correct tool for the job. We don't want to misplace the tool for the any other activity. We need to use the correct tool for the job given. And next one is the machine safety. So the machine safety, which is means before switch on the machine, we need to inspect whether everything is correct, whether the oil level is correct, and whether the any other foreign particles, any debris are there. We need to check it out, and we need to ensure that guards are in place in the machine. And we don't want to operate the equipment or the machine unless until if we have a much more awareness. That means if you have a proper training in the machine, then only we may able to switch on the machine and work on the machine. So next one is the chemical safety. Under the workplace safety, chemical safety. We need to always handle the chemical with care, with the proper labeling and storage procedure that is given in the label itself. And next one is the fire safety. we need to eliminate the fire hazards. Each and every place there is a opportunity for catching fire. So we need to eliminate the hazards. We need to ensure the proper ventilation, and we need to know the location of a fire extinguisher, and that to be have to be indicated to all by a signboard. The general precautions. The third one is the general precaution. We need to always stay alert. What are the things are happening in and around through us. So be aware of your surroundings. Avoid harsh play. We don't want to here and there go during the working hours in the industrial shop floor, and we don't want to work when tired. If we are not able to perform the work in the industry, we need to get ourselves in rest. We don't want to do work. If we may able to force to work means, so that work will lead to a unsafety condition. So we don't want to under the influence of alcohol or any other drugs. And the next general precaution is report the hazards. If anything we felt that is unsafe condition, immediately we need to give a report to the supervisor, and we need to follow the emergency procedure. If anything has happened, we need to follow the emergency procedure, and we need to know what is the emergency procedure that are available in the company. For example, if the fire is occurred, where we need to go, where we need to accumulate. So what is the easiest path to go there, and what are the evacuation route, and what are the first aid kits are available. So those are the things that we need to know. And next one is the break. That means a break period. We need to take a regular break in order to avoid fatigue and to improve the focus. So next one is the communication. So we always do have a communication through for inform the hazards and safety concern to the colleagues, and for that we need to develop and maintain a certain communication. So and training. So we need to participate in a regular safety training sessions to stay update on the best practices. So the next one, general precaution. The last one is the authorized personnel. So as I said in the previous one, only the authorized personnel should operate the machinery. That means the trained person only operate the machinery. And next one is the personal protective equipment. The personal protective equipment, which is refers to the clothing or equipment to minimize the exposure of hazards or to protect the wearer from the injury or infection. That is the main role of a PPE, personal protective equipment. So it is crucial for maintaining safety in various settings, including the workplaces, healthcare facilities, and during hazardous activities. So personal protective equipment can include items like, as we saw in the previous one, like gloves, respirators, safety glasses, and full body suits, depend upon the specific task which is involved. These are the items: gloves, respirators, safety glasses, and full body suits, including the shoes, the toe covered shoes, and the types of the personal protective equipment and their uses. So in a chemical industry, this is needed, the respiratory protection. So the respirators and masks protect against the inhaling hazardous airborne particles, dust or chemicals. So this will prevent the unwanted particles to enter into our body, this respiratory protection. And next one is eye and face protection, and for that we use the goggles, so face shields and safety glasses that shield the eyes and face from splashes, impacts and radiation. And frequently these face protection and eye protection which are used in the welding industry, and then a hand protection. So we need to always use the gloves to protect against the chemicals, cuts, punctures and any other infections. And foot protection. For foot protection, we need to use the safety boots and shoes. Protect against the impact, punctures, slip. In a slippery floor, we can use the proper safety boots on hazard surfaces. So head protection, for head protection, hard hats, that means helmets, protects against the falling of objects and impacts. And hearing protection, we need to use always earplug when the decibel sound are more in a production area. So earplugs and ear muffs protect against the excessive noise, that to be we have to use. So for body protection, so coveralls or lab coats and other protective cloth against the chemical splashes, physical hazards and contamination. And the importance of personal protective equipments. So first thing, it should minimize the exposure to hazards. So it's act like a barrier to reduce the risk of injury, illness and infection from various workplace hazards. Next one, protecting workers and patients. So in healthcare, the personal protective equipment protect both healthcare professional as well as the patients from the spread of infections. The infection also can be reduced by using a proper clothing. That means proper personal protective equipment that reduce the spread of infections and complying with the safety regulation. And many industry require the use of the personal protective equipment PPE to comply with the occupational safety health standard. That is a separate thing we will see in the second video. The preventing accident and injuries. So proper use of a PPE can significantly reduce the likelihood of severity of workplace and accidents and injuries. If you use the proper personal protective equipment, that will be reduce the accidents and injuries. And how we are going to select and use the personal protective equipment. First one is hazard assessment. What type of the industry that we are working. So based on that, we need to select the PPE and proper fit and maintenance. So loose cloth and loose hair is not allowed inside the industrial working place, especially in the shop floor, especially while more moving parts are there. So we need to always use the proper fit, and that to be have a regular maintenance, it to be regularly inspected, regularly maintenance, and it should be changed depend upon the time which is given. So and training and education, this is much more important. So workers should be trained on how to properly select, wear and care of their personal protective equipment, and the combination with other safety measures. We need to inculcate these PPE training with other training, other safety training also, like engineering controls, administrative controls, and safe work practices. And now, first aid. The term first aid refers to a medical attention that is usually administered immediately after the injury occurs. The help, first medical help, that is known as a first aid. That means immediately after the injury occurs at the location where it occurred. So it often consisted of one-time short-term treatment and requires little technology or training to the administrator. Those who are the person given, we need to give some kind of training, that to be given in the safety training also. So the first aid is the immediate care given to someone who is injured or suddenly becomes ill. So before the professional medical help arrives, that is the first aid. And it is a crucial skill that can be the difference between life and death. So the proper first aid that will protect our life and from the death. So between full recovery and the permanent injury, this will be reduced. Permanent injury will be reduced and full recovery is 100% guaranteed if the first aid is properly done. So first aid can range from cleaning a minor cut and to performing a CPR in a life-threatening emergency. Depend upon the emergency only, we need to perform. So first aid is in general, it is an immediate care given to the injured person when suddenly becomes ill before the actual medical help start. So The aspects of first aid is immediate care, and then a goal, and it is not a substitute for a doctor. It is not a substitute for a registered medical practitioner, and this is a temporary measure until the professional help arrives. And this is a basic skill and example how to bandaging the wounds. We need to know how to treating the burns and performing the CPR and recognizing and treating the shock. And now importance of first aid and training. So it creates a confidence in emergency. Training empowers individual to respond effectively in emergency. In a shop floor, this kind of the first aid training will need to given to the supervisor and the second type of workers, because it creates some kind of empowers to the individual to respond effectively in emergencies. So saving lives. So first aid skill can be crucial in a critical situation. So we need to develop for each and every employee inside the industry to save the lives in case of emergency. So preparing for various scenarios. The first aid training under the safety aspect, it covers the range of situation from minor injury to the severe emergency cases up to. And then a resume building, we need to demonstrate the initiative and valuable skills of the first aid training. And these are the 7 steps that which we are followed in the first aid. First one is before proceeding the first aid, we need to inform to the emergency services, and we need to go to the actual the injured prone area, and we need to check for the braking, and we need to chest compression for CPR, and we need to rescue breathe, and we need to repeat the cycle. So next one is the mains electricity. So in the syllabus it is clearly given as the safety and general precaution in industry and shop floor, and then a PPE, personal protective equipment, and first aid and operation of electrical mains and disposal of waste material. So it is clearly given as personal protective equipment. So first aid operations of electrical mains and disposal of waste materials. So based on that we saw the syllabus, and now we are in the operation of electrical mains. So the mains electricity is also known as a utility power or a grid power, and mainly it is the alternating current which are used here. It's to deliver to homes and business through an electrical grid. It powers everyday appliances by connecting them to the wall outlets. These are the basic things. So how it is work? The first thing is power source and transmission. So electricity is generated in the power plant and transmitted through a high voltage transmission lines from one area to the needed area. The voltage is stepped down substations and before being delivered to the local area. Before it gets into the reach home, the voltage is stepped down. So in residential area, electricity is typically delivered through the overhead power cable, in some rare cases underground cables. So second one is the distribution within the building, and the first one is from the remote place, from the power plant to the substation, and from substation to the individual houses. And here distribution within the building, after getting to the building, how it is distributed, the mains electricity is distributed. The electricity enters the building in the service panel, which is located in the front of all the household area. Then the service panel distribute the power to the different circuits, which the specific area or else appliances. So each circuit typically include live wire, hot wire, a neutral wire or grounding wire. So switches control the flow of electricity to the individual services. So next one is the operation of appliances. So after the electricity is distributed inside the building, then when a device plugged into the socket, it completes the circuit. The current flows through the live wire and the appliances and returns via to the neutral wire and completing the circuit. So fuses, circuit breakers are safety devices that are protecting against the overload and short circuit by interrupting the current flow. So we are using the circuit breakers nowadays and fuses also. These are the circuits which protects against the overload. And RCDs, residual current devices, monitor the current in the live and neutral wire trips. If there is any difference, it indicates or it alarm, it creates some noise for paying the attention. That is the RCD, residual current devices. So the electrical operation responsibility includes planning, maintaining, upgrading and replacing the building unit substation or outdoor lighting systems. So that is also for outdoor lighting systems also planning, designing, installing and maintaining electric utility metering and remote data retrieval systems. And these are the responsibilities that are falls under the electric operations. And next, what type of the current that which we are going to use? So mainly electricity uses the AC, that is alternating current, which means current periodically reverses the direction, unlike the direct current from the battery. So the AC pushes charge one way and then opposite way in the circuit. So we are always using the AC current. We need to take more care when compared to the DC. So and next one is the safety in the electrical main supply. So we need to always ensure the proper insulation of wires in order to prevent the electric shock. And fuses and circuit breakers are essential for protecting against the overloads and short circuit. And RCDs has to be provided for the another layer of a safety. And this is about the operation of electrical mains. And now we are entered into the industrial waste disposal. It involves managing, eliminating the unwanted material it generates during the manufacturing and industrial process. While converting the raw material into a finished good, several kind of unwanted materials will be generated. Those are the things are called industrial waste disposal in all aspects. So the effective waste management is a crucial for environmental protection and regulatory compliances. The common methods that are mentioned here is landfilling, incineration, recycling, composting and waste to energy processes. So industry should prioritize waste reduction, reuse and recovery to minimize environmental impacts and costs. So this diagram will help us to understand what are the different types of waste that are in the industrial area as well as the household area. So paper waste, glass waste, organic waste and plastic waste and metal waste is there. The metal waste can be recycled. And now first we are going to see about the landfilling, which is the base of a waste disposal. This involves burying waste in a designated area. It is often that will be the last destination of a material. That the material cannot be recycled or composite means we have to burying in the land. And then incineration. So the incineration is the term which is defined as the high temperature to reduce the volume and potential generate energy. Potentially it generates the energy. It requires a careful management to minimize the harmful emissions. If you burn anything, the emission will come. So we need to take much more care during the incineration process. And then a recycling process. The third one is the recycling process. So the process of wasting materials into a new products. Example, I already said that the material, the metal, it should be recycled. The plastic will be reprocessed and the paper will be recycling. And then a composting. This will be used in the case of organic waste for food scrap and yard waste to produce a nutrient rich compost via soil amendment. And now waste to energy. This is the predominant thing followed by all the industries. The converting waste into a usable energy often through incineration or other process. So the industry that is disposed by one, it will be useful for other. That is the main motto of waste to energy. And chemical neutralization. So in case of chemicals, we need to neutralize the hazardous waste. So in deep well injection, injecting a certain liquid waste into a deep underground for a long-term storage. So the importance of a waste management is, the first thing is we need to prevent pollution and contamination of air, water and soil. So, and resource conservation, we need to ensure that the product should be recycled. And then a cost saving, if we recycle, definitely the cost of a new product will be reduced. The disposal of a waste also can be reduced. And regulatory compliance, that means industry must adhere, that means follow to waste management regulation in order to avoid the penalties and legal issues. And then a public health, proper waste management that will prevent the spread of disease and reduce the health risk associated with the improper disposal. Economic benefits means the waste management create the job additionally inside the industry or in the household or in any other areas. It creates a job and it creates the opportunity for recycling and then a resource recovery. And the key consideration that we need to take for the industrial waste management is, the first one is first and foremost thing, we need to give a training waste segregation. So how to separate a waste material in the industry. So it may be a cloth, it may be a metal, it may be a used item, it may be a cutted parts, and how we are going to segregate. Next one is source reduction. We need to always minimize the waste generation through the optimization process in a material substitution. And then industrial symbiosis. That means we need to always finding the ways to use waste from one industry to another. As I said earlier, the waste from one industry can be converted into energy to another industry, or as same. And always for disposal of waste, we need to adopt the technology. Utilizing the technology for waste tracking, monitoring and process optimization. And then we always do a continuous improvement in a safety as well as the industrial waste disposal. We need to regularly reviewing and improving waste management practices to enhance the effectiveness. So these are the key consideration of industrial waste management. So we saw in the trade-off fitter, safety, general precaution in industry and shop floor, personal protective equipment PPE, first aid, operations of electrical mains and disposal of waste material.